Welcome to Buying and Beyond, the buying podcast that aims to entertain and inspire. We're Kate and Linz, and together we have over 30 years' experience in retail, including Accessorise and M&S to name a few high street names.
We've been through the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs of fashion retail buying and beyond, and we really want to share this with you.
This is a safe space for us to share our stories, tips and advice, and we have some friends joining us along the way to give us their thoughts and opinions too.
We hope this podcast will help anyone looking to get into the industry, as well as those already enjoying the wild world of retail buying, as many of these stories will hopefully feel very relatable. So grab your drink of choice, sit back and have a giggle with us.
Ready.
Hello.
Hi.
We are Katie and Linz, and we are back for episode 2.
Ep 2.
Ready to
Here we
continue
go.
our trip down memory lane.
For sure. So, Kate, what should we talk about in this episode then?
So this one we are going to talk about landing our first jobs, from how we found out about the role, to interviews, to our first days. We had
I thought you were going to say first dates.
First dates. I mean, that comes into it too. It felt very much like preparing for a first date. But but we had very, very, again, really different experiences of this. So shall I start?
You kick off.
Okay.
With your
So
first.
after all the studying and doing all the internships and things like that, I graduated with first class honours. Sorry, I had to put that in there. All those late nights and not going to the pub and the club.
Pub and the club.
Paid off. But I didn't have a job lined up. Quite a few.
So she had all the grades, but nowhere to go.
Yeah, and quite a few people did have things lined up. I mean, I mentioned just in the last episode about my friend at uni who won a job, so she obviously rolled straight into that, and a few others have been quite proactive. I didn't have anything lined up. I had some really successful work experience placements, as I mentioned, that I'd really enjoyed, and I'd stayed in contact with the buyers and ABs that I'd worked with then, and sort of said, if anything comes up, then definitely keep me in mind. But because I'd done an art foundation, and I hadn't gone travelling, which isn't the be all and end all, but I had wanted to go travelling, but I hadn't wanted to defer uni further. I didn't want to be that bit older. So I didn't. So I was like, well, maybe this is my time. Before I get stuck into my career, I'm just going to go travelling. So I planned out my route.
As so many people do.
And
that geography course then
come into its own. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go travelling for a bit, and then when I get back, then I'll work things out. I had my whole route planned. Like, I was so close. It was like the day before I was about to put the money down. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
And I got a call. So I guess to rewind a bit, what I didn't mention in the last episode, because I actually think I skipped quite quickly into...
You didn't really take a breath, Kate.
I didn't take a breath.
Uh-huh.
So I'd been working in...
Right.
And one of the buyers had happened to come in.
Which is quite a lot of the way... It's the way quite a lot of people get into buying, isn't it? From the store.
Through store.
Working in store.
Yeah, working in
really
store.
Good way.
Because you often, if you're working in store, you get the newsletters, you get the updates when there's job vacancies and things like that. And buyers often do, as a buyer, you should be going out to your stores. I mean, I think actually as buyers, we should get out a lot more than we do.
Yeah.
But you do need to be getting out and seeing it from the customer's point of view, and seeing how it's landed properly
Especially
in the stores.
as you get a bit more senior, you get kind of a bit tied to your desk, don't you, in the office. So you still really need to be getting out there.
You do. You really need to, because you're doing all this work for what if you don't really see how it's actually properly landing and how customers are shopping it. So I was lucky that the hosiery buyer had come in, hosiery and shoes buyer had come into the store, and I was on my lunch break at the time, and I'd heard that she'd come in, and I was like, oh gosh, I feel like I should speak to her, but I'm a bit nervous. And I was like, do you know what, if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to get anything. So I was like, right, okay. So I went out and I was like, hi, so I'm studying a course at the moment, and
so brave. Well done, especially at that age.
Yeah, but I think you'd been, because been on the course and I'd been learning about people in industry and I'd been having to start to learn to pitch, it was like, okay, just do it, just put yourself out there, come on. So I went out, spoke to her and was like, so I'm doing this course, I'm really interested in getting into buying. I would like love the opportunity to like do some work experience. And she gave me her card and said to like send over my CV and et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, brilliant. And then I dropped her an email with my CV on it and like a covering letter and how I'd like to get to have some work experience, and I got a bounce back. And I think I'd left it too long.
Okay, classic Kate.
I think I just left it that little bit too long that she'd left, and I was like, oh goodness. But
so, moral of the story: do not wait.
Don't
Pounce
wait
on these opportunities.
Yes. If you're going to put yourself out there, then follow through.
Yeah.
But in my kind of defence, I did then, I did then seize the opportunity. I had a name, I felt like I had an inroad, and I was like, okay, so I'm not getting anything back on this email. So I printed my CV off and my cover letter off, and I put it in the post.
In the post?
Put it in an envelope, and I sent it for the attention of this particular person, and at the head office. And I didn't think anything would come of it, particularly if they'd left, but actually...
And because you'd put it in the post.
Yes, I put it in the post. But, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Absolutely.
Try all the avenues.
I should not be making fun of this.
Try all the avenues. And I was really lucky that I got a call.
Mm-hmm.
And I got invited to go and do work experience, and I absolutely loved it. And I think even more than the Arcadia one, because I was working in the store and I had a real love for this brand and the products, going and then seeing them and understanding about like rate of sales, on a Monday, and racking things up in trade, writing out the labels, understanding how many had sold. Like, I was just working in the one store. To see that as kind of like a whole sort of like national numbers was incredible.
Yes.
And so I made some really, really good contacts there, got on so well with the assistant buyer there. Still to this day, still think she's just like a wonderful, wonderful person. Loved working with her. It was so eye-opening.
Makes such a difference when you work for someone that you are inspired by,
Definitely.
encouraged by.
Definitely.
Really, really has your back, champions your progression, all that good stuff.
It changes everything, doesn't it? It changes your whole outlook on something and how you view it, as to how people around you treat you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll touch on that again.
Yeah, for sure.
And yes, I had really good contacts, and that was lovely. So I'd said, let's stay in contact. Anyway, so back to planning my travel. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Done it. About to do it. Next day, and I get a call from this brand asking me if I wanted to do some temp work.
Right.
I was like, oh my goodness. Now, this was in 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And
Showing our age here.
it was around the time where we were starting to hit a little bit of a blip in the economy.
Right.
Like, jobs weren't as easy to come by. And I remember being like, I don't know what to do. I'm so close to this, like, about to book this travel, but like, this is my dream job. I remember writing when you finish uni and it's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, 10 years' time? Like, what is your goal? And my goal was, I want to be a buyer for this brand. That's what I wanted. And I remember...
That's really specific.
Yeah, I had a really, I manifested it, basically. I had a real vision, like, I wanted to be a buyer for this particular brand. And I remember talking to my family, like, seeking advice and just being like, I just don't know what to do. And they were like, just do it. Like, it's a temp role. Do it. Get the opportunity. Like, it's not every day these kind of things come up. Take the opportunity. You can always go travelling at a later date.
Exactly.
Okay. Great. So I was like, yes, absolutely would love that. They're brilliant. Do you want to come up and just meet the buyer? And we'll just, have a quick chat about your experience, etc. So I went up, met the buyer. She was lovely. Talked through my CV. It was quite casual. I was kind of expecting like sort of much more of a formal interview.
Interviews are so different in different places, aren't they? Like, some of them are just really formal.
Yeah.
Informal.
Yeah.
And some of them can be incredibly sort of behaviours driven, very corporate.
Yeah.
I think I know the one that I prefer though, as an interviewer and an interviewee. Like, I think there definitely needs to be a mix of, giving a fair opportunity to
Well,
people.
I think, yeah, that's...
But also not stifling them within a very formal environment that you don't understand who they are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there can sometimes be the way that the questions go. Like, it's great to have a free flow and really understand somebody's personality and what like excites them and interests them. And your conversations can go in all sorts of tangents, but actually it can also be very, very important as well to have standard questions that you ask so you can fairly benchmark people. Like, with this is what I asked and this was their response, and you can really kind of like level out.
Yeah.
But it's the questions that throw you that you're just like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know, those kind of real questions that you're like, what am I trying to get from the person when I ask them this question?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, some of them can be quite backwards, but no, this was a really really casual interview, which was lovely. And then she just said, okay, start on the Monday, which was amazing. Really different to the formal interview I'd had through a recruitment company. So I had a couple where I went for, and I think it's because it was for a temp role.
Yeah.
And I'd gone for like full-time positions at like LK Bennett, and I think one was like Mark 1 or something, like really different, like in terms of levels of sort of high street retailers there. You know, you've got a real like high end and much more of an entry, but the interviews for both were really similar. And so that had been my previous experience. And then this was much more of a casual conversation. But it was great. And I did 6 months there, and then a permanent position came up. And then I did a much more formal interview where you have the behavioural questions and you do a project and bring in samples and whatever. But so it was quite a nice, gentle entry into that environment for me.
That's very gentle.
But what about you?
So I finished my uni course and had done a million different internships by then, which, may I add, I did for free. I think a lot of people these days don't, I don't want to say don't appreciate, but they don't understand, like, back then how much was required of us to go out there and seek those work experiences and just... You were in it for the experience. You weren't in it for the cash. It was all about what they could give you to learn to then you could build upon. And
I think now companies definitely have to pay for your travel at least,
and some lunch expenses as well.
Yeah, which I think is good because it did have like we were both quite lucky that we lived just outside of London with our families, and actually we could commute in and we could still go back to our family homes, and actually the commute didn't cost us too much.
100%, because who can afford to work for free these days?
Exactly. You know? So it's really great that they offer that now, but it was... And I
think that's why I would encourage people to do it while you're at university as well, because once you leave university, you need to find a job, you need to pay the rent, you need to live your life.
Yeah. You don't have those student loans anymore.
Yeah, you don't have that comfort to
fall back on, to support you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yes, I left and sent out a whole bunch of applications to a whole bunch of retailers. I had a couple of interviews, one with a really cute sort of I don't know how to describe them. They had a very big catalogue presence at that time. Again, showing my age here. Which they now have a bigger online presence, obviously. Yeah. And I interviewed for a BAA on the kids' wear department, children's wear. So
fun.
Went for an interview there, researched all about the brand. Again, it was a nice mix of informal and formal questions. I think one of the things I took from that interview was that definitely ask them a lot of questions as well, because they're interested to see what you're interested in as well. So I definitely came with loads of questions about the brand.
It works both ways. Like, is that a company that you want to work for?
Exactly.
As well?
And then you find out the personality of the company. And I really loved them, and I got on really well with the head of buying actually. And it was quite uncommon for a head of buying to interview such a junior position as well, which I thought was really inclusive. So I got the job, which was great. And then another well-known brand came knocking. An opportunity came up, which is where Kate and I met.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I really, really want to work for this brand. But I had gotten so well with the other the other interested party, shall we say.
It's nice to have the choice almost, isn't it?
Yeah, which I don't ever knock. Like, I think that I was very lucky, and I think we talk about luck quite a lot in our career, don't we? Like, you do have to be in the right place at the right time.
You have to make your own luck. If you hadn't have applied for these things, those opportunities wouldn't have come. So it's
absolutely.
like, as you said, like trusting it and just going with it, and these things happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But also you have to put yourself out there in order to be like, you've got to be in it to win it.
You do have to. It's like we're on a game show now. Okay, love it. So yes, the other brand came knocking, and I thought, I've got to go for this interview. So I reached out to the previous brand and said, look, I'm really sorry, I really got on well with you, but I have had another opportunity come up. Would you mind waiting for me to go for that interview? And I think that kind of showed that, you know, I was getting quite a lot of traction from other people. I think that kind of showed them that, you know, they wanted to fight for me and wait for me, which was great. But it was really risky because they could have just turned around and gone, no, we've got someone else in the pipeline. You know, if you don't want us, then
then we're going elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I went for the interview, got on really, really well with the buyer. Again, like we said, I think it's really important. You need to be able to get on with your manager.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds really obvious and really simple, but especially in this industry, because it's all about personality. It is quite a lot about personality within the team. I think you definitely need to have the skill set that they're looking for, and you need to be able to do the job or have the, you know, fundamentals to do the job. But it's all about personality as well, because you're living and breathing each other day in, day out.
You spend 90% of your time is spent at work.
Exactly.
You've got to get on with the people that you're working with, and you've got to like the brand that you're working for.
And I don't really remember too much about the interview process because it's such a long time ago and so much has happened since then, Kate. But I do remember researching loads about the company.
I think that's definitely a key thing to do. Like now, doing interviews sometimes, and someone comes and you're just like, so
have you been to a store?
Yeah.
No,
So what do you know about X brand? Well, I know that you're a retailer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like anything else, and also not just what have you. So one, I think it can be quite telling. They can give you the year that it was set up, that it was founded, and you know, journey, whatever that you've been on, and that's really great. You can tell they've been on the website, or you can tell that they've.
I know, sometimes I learn something new about.
Yeah, you can tell that they've like searched it and reviewed it and stuff. But I also like it when you hear like their opinions. So like, well, you know, and what do they like about it? What do they think are our strengths and weaknesses and things? I mean, and that just leads into just a SWOT.
Yeah,
a lot of the kind of the things that are really important to do is to go and visit a store or go on the online or go online.
Yeah.
And really understand who that brand is, and to really, even if you've not been requested to, although I think with most buying interviews you would be requested to do a SWOT.
Yeah.
I would always advise to do one anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regardless.
Yeah.
You know, even in like, because generally for an AB it would be or BA, it would be a one interview generally. An AB might have two.
Yeah.
Buyer definitely you'd have two. I would always prep my SWOT for my first interview.
Yeah, definitely.
Not wait for there to be a second interview, because it helps you formulate your views and your ideas of what you could bring to that retailer and what you think the future is.
Yeah, and you don't need to be too detailed about it. I remember bringing a SWOT, and you know, it's your first job in buying. You don't really know. I mean, you learn quite a lot at uni, but you don't really know, or if you haven't gone to uni, you know, you don't really know the fundamental role of that job until you're in it. And I think there's so much to learn in that role that you wouldn't even be able to get that from a job description. So it is about personality and enthusiasm and passion for that sector that you're going into.
And reasons behind it. You know, it's not a 2 and 2 equals 4. It's not something as simple as that. Actually, your idea might not be something that they are going to do or had thought of doing, but actually your justification as to why you think they should be doing it.
And why it's an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
So so I did a SWOT analysis for that interview, and it just all went really well, and it turned into a chat. I think that's when you know the interview's going really well, when it sort of just turns into a chat and you can just be yourself, and you know, it all led in the right direction. So I got a call and I got the job.
Yay!
So unfortunately I had to turn the other brand down, which I still think about them to this day, to be honest.
It's a bit of a sliding doors thing, though, isn't it?
It
Because
is.
life could have been so different.
We would never have met.
Well, yeah. Well, you never know.
We might have done.
The world works in strange ways.
Absolutely.
But your life could have been quite different. But
absolutely.
you've had so many opportunities from going down this road. So often, as well as doing a SWOT, you'll often have kind of maybe a mood board or something to back it up, and samples. They used to love buying a sample, something that you can like touch and feel, didn't they? So like, I was thinking that it might be a little bit like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that kind of like can really like demonstrate your point. I definitely found, as you said, like with your BA, when you first have your sort of like your first interview, because you're coming from sort of like university and you've learned so much in your course, but actually there's so much more that you learn while you're actually doing, and things that you learned that you then see in practice, and you really understand the background for it all and like how that all came to be. And I think that was kind of almost, once I had the temp role and then a permanent role came up, it was interesting to be on the inside, to have my first interview as such.
Yeah.
And
because ours were very different experiences, I suppose. You were on the inside from work, so you got your role from work experience, really. And I was coming in really external. And so that can be quite daunting, really, because I remember rocking up and you'd been there for a long while and you knew what you were doing.
So because I was internal, I'd been there for 6 months and I'd been sort of doing the role. It was great, and I was lucky to already have a foot in the door, but there was, and I understood kind of the sort of the expectations of the interviews.
Yeah.
But then there were expectations and almost an added pressure that I had everything at my fingertips, and therefore my interview compared to an external candidate should be that
more elevated.
Yeah, because I had
inside knowledge.
I had people to talk to. I could go and find out lots of different things, and I had access to reports, and I could, at that point, after 6 months,
it's almost too much information, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was in a way. Actually, I do remember one girl coming in and doing some work experience. I think she did it even better than me, and I always remember this and just think, God, I wish I'd had that confidence. But she came in and she was only on 2 weeks work experience. So I had 6 months to build these relationships. She was on 2 weeks work experience, and she just came in and she made herself known, and she chatted to everyone. I mean, from like someone at the tea point to like the CEO. And this was a big company.
She was like knocking on his door, wasn't she, really?
Yeah.
She got a minute.
She had no qualms about speaking to the head of buying. Like, that's the head of buying.
Yeah.
She'd be like, oh, so hey, how was your weekend? I like really like your shirt. That's so cool. Where'd you get that from? And then she'd rock up the next day wearing something similar, and I would never, ever dare do anything like that. But she just had so much confidence and charisma, and actually it just meant that she was lucky again, but put herself out there, that in that 2 weeks someone handed in their notice and a role came up. Or did they hand in the notice or they were promoted? I don't know, but a position came up and they asked her to interview for it. She didn't even have to be like, hi, so
can I interview
for that role? They were like, please, can you apply? And they knew that she'd get the role. They just kind of needed to go through the rigmarole. And I just thought, again, it just putting yourself out there, showing exactly as you said, your passion and your enthusiasm, and just having the confidence to do that.
Do you know what I think is an interesting debate, though? I think I was having this conversation with someone the other day. I think if you're not a natural extrovert, is that the right word?
Yeah.
And you're quite introverted and you don't have that ability to be the loudest person, and I certainly felt like that. That wasn't me. That's not my personality. I can't be that person that you're talking about. And I felt like...
And you don't want to be disingenuous by forcing
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And I felt like I could display my ability in a different way. So I don't think you necessarily need to be like that.
No, but I would encourage you to talk to people.
Yeah. Absolutely encourage you to talk to people. But I wouldn't want our listeners to feel like if I'm not that, then I can't do this.
Oh yeah,
I can't do this
not
industry.
at all.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Not
there's
at all. I mean,
so
she
many
was a
different
whole-
personalities in.
She's a
buying.
whole nother level of it, but I
Yeah.
admired her confidence and I loved how sassy she was. But no, you definitely don't have to be like that. But you do need to want to talk to people and
you do.
build relationships and not be afraid to talk to people. But yeah, I mean, I started off quite shy and quite quiet, and
Yeah, we
and,
both
and you
had quite a similar personality.
you build on that
You
as
do.
you,
I think
and you
that's my
become more
point, like,
confident.
I think a lot of people who I've worked with over the last few years they compare themselves to other people, and I think we did that a little bit with that person, didn't we? We were like, oh my god, I'm not that. I'm not going to get on. La la la. But actually, you don't need to.
No,
do
you just
that.
work hard, get your head down, speak to people. It doesn't need to be like the most sassy and bolshy.
Yeah.
But you do need to have an element of wanting to kind of like build those relationships and be able to present and feel confident in your decisions.
But I think when you look at those people to be, you look at that kind of person, and you're not that kind of person. What you should take from that is just like inspiration from it, not necessarily having to replicate it.
Oh, yeah.
Take inspiration from how they are and what they're doing and how they're approaching it. But don't ever be stifled by those people that are a lot louder than you, because there's so many of them in this industry, isn't there? You know, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're better than you.
Yeah, just not because you don't have to shout the loudest to have the best ideas, definitely. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the numbers will speak for themselves and your ideas will speak for themselves. But it's just, I think it's just more have the confidence to speak to people.
Yeah.
But
you don't need to be like yelling across the floor.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
You know, you could talk to people really casually in the lunch queue, or do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just something that's come up over the last few years for me. I think a lot of people have been distracted from this industry because they see those people with the really big personalities and think, oh well, I don't have that, so maybe this isn't for me.
Oh, absolutely not. It takes all sorts, doesn't it? I mean, you need to have a real balance. If everybody was a real, like a red, loud, confident, competitive, no one would get anywhere. You need all those different personalities to build a team.
Yeah.
To be able to have the difference of opinions, to have those debates, to kind of actually come up with a really strong, solid range. You need somebody that's maybe a little bit more analytical, someone that's not maybe just going to like fire from the hip. Like, you need a balance of personalities, definitely. So it takes all sorts.
Yeah, it takes a village.
It takes a village.
So we have obviously digressed again, as we're going to do in every episode, I think. So Kate, tell me a bit about your first day. How was that? What happened?
Oh my gosh. First day. That was really exciting. And really nerve-wracking turning up to the building. I don't remember, this sounds awful, but because it was such a long time ago, I don't remember all the ins and outs of exactly how that first day went. I do remember meeting all the other BAAs. I remember thinking they were all so cool. And just being part of like I loved being part of a team, being part of a unit. I found it, really exciting. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it was very daunting, and I was very grateful for someone coming over to my desk and kneeling down and saying, "Would you like to go for lunch?" Because you don't know where you're going at lunchtime. We don't know what you're doing. You don't know, and I think obviously it's such a busy office, isn't it? It's sort of hustle and bustle, and you don't want to keep sort of tapping on people's shoulders and saying, "Hi, I'm new here. What do you want me to do next?" So definitely really appreciated that from you, Kate. Thanks very much. But I just remember waking up in the morning with, I don't know, just kind of feeling excited and nervous at the same time. Didn't really know what to expect, I suppose, when I rocked up. And
what did you wear on your first day? Do you remember?
What did I wear? Oh my god, that's such a
I really remember my mum.
question. I can't remember what I had for dinner last night.
I remember my mum saying you need to wear like a knee-length skirt from M&S.
Oh
like
my
a suit
god,
jacket,
yes.
Which is, I was like, no, mum, it's not that kind of job. I mean, suits are really cool these days.
Yeah.
Like, like a cool.
She'd have been bang on the money now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not with the skirt thing, but like a trouser suit. A trouser suit would have looked really cool. But back in the noughties, I wore a pair of black tights with a pair of checked shorts.
Checked shorts?
Yeah, short shorts with a little black tee.
Do you not think that's a little bit inappropriate, Kate?
No.
Short shorts.
Yeah, short shorts.
Cool.
No, I mean, not like hot pants,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, like,
You really would be making an impression.
not hot pants, I didn't go that far, but they were like short shorts rather than like, because in the noughties, knee-length shorts were really in. Do you remember?
I don't know if I remember that.
Yeah, knee-length shorts were like really in. Like, I wore like shorter shorts. They were like really cute little check shorts with black tights and like cute like little like ankle boots with a little black tee. And I was like, this looks so much cooler, Mum. Loved it.
And she's mouth open as you're walking out.
Yeah, like what is she wearing? Where is this job?
What did I wear? I think I probably went a little bit smarter because it was a new job, and I always sort of used to feel like I don't want to like stand out too much.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go there and suss it out, and then
Yeah.
I really honestly can't remember what I wore. My gosh, yeah, it's probably some sort of like little black skirt and a shirt or something like that. And then I probably felt out of place because everyone else was so casual. I think that was one of the first things that not shocked me but surprised me in buying. Is it's quite casual. Like everybody's allowed to sort of wear what they want within reason. Like obviously you can't swan in a bikini or anything like that.
No, the number of days I would just like, as you say, like super casual. The number of days I would walk in with my Uggs, my leggings, and like a big long jumper. That was my
staple.
thing. Yeah.
I can see that now.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
It was so comfy and cozy and warm, and I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
But I think it can depend what the trends are at that time, because Uggs were massively in with leggings and like a big jumper or a big long leg cardi. Whereas like today, it probably would be something more like a kind of like semi-cash, like trouser suit, so you look sort of smart cash, like a big nice wide leg trouser, so you feel comfy but actually like dressed up a little bit, maybe with like a little kitten heel or something.
Yeah, and I think as you get a bit more senior and you're in a bit more of a professional environment and some key meetings with some key people, then you're not going to be wearing Uggs, leggings and a
absolutely not.
Jumper.
That was my moving boxes around and moving samples in and out.
Exactly. I mean, it's a messy job as well. Let's let's not forget.
Delivering post.
Constantly remember getting in the lift with all those boxes to go down to the basement to put them away and, you know, like literally manual labour, wasn't it?
Yeah. Whereas then when you kind of get to the point of like AB buyer and you're presenting, definitely I would plan my outfits for like product reviews and sign-offs.
Oh my god, I still do that now.
Yeah.
Like, what are you wearing to sign off?
Yeah,
like,
You
know, you go out, you almost go out and buy
yourself a nice new outfit, something. Yeah. You power dress in a way, like you want to.
Or you dig out the outfit that you wore last time.
Yeah, your lucky dress.
Or
your lucky dress.
Yeah, your lucky dress because you need all the luck.
This has got to go well. But an element of like, you know, like you dress to kind of feel comfortable, so you feel confident to present.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what it is, isn't it? We power dress to feel confident, feel like, you know, what we're presenting is the best version of work that we've been working on for the last 6 to 9 months. You know, it's like we're having a baby, really, isn't it? I mean, obviously you wouldn't wear that to have a baby.
I don't know where we're going with this now. Oh gosh, but we digress again. So we should probably wrap this up. I think maybe so the 3 things from, I quite like us doing these 3 things. It's kind of like, especially when we go off on so many tangents, it's quite nice to like bring it back to what's our main point.
Yeah. What is our main point?
What is it?
What is the point?
What is the point? Number 1, talk to people. Again, I think we sort of said that last time, but it's about making those connections, and you don't have to be the loudest person in the room, but definitely speak to people. Find your tribe, find your people, find your tribe.
I like that. Yeah. Find your tribe.
Because there's so many different personalities in buying, and there will be people that are more similar to you, and just like seek them out and you know, find your hype man. You know, we support each other, don't we?
So and again, why we want to do this podcast, because it's about appreciating, supporting, bigging up. You know, even if you've done something wrong, you've not done something in the right way, like constructively picking it apart and helping you not do that again, or helping you with that situation in a better way in the future.
Exactly. 2, be excited, show you're passionate, and just like show them how much you love buying in the retailer. So like we said about like understanding a brand and showing how much you want to work there, like how keen you are. That's super important. Like that definitely comes across well in an interview. You're much more employable, you're much more likely to employ somebody that is keen and excited and has a thirst to learn over somebody that knows everything and ticks all the boxes but shows little to no enthusiasm
Or personality.
So yeah,
Because you don't know who that person is.
yeah,
And that's quite a risk, isn't it, for a retailer to employ someone who they don't really know who they are.
Yeah.
So that's got to come through in the interview.
I think that probably leans into like our third point, which is like, it's not you, it's me kind of thing. You know, if you don't get the job, don't be disheartened.
No, gosh, no.
It could be simple as team fit.
Yeah.
So show your personality, and that may be a personality that's going to fit well within that team, or actually, as we've talked about, like needing people with lots of different skill sets. Actually, maybe it's that you don't have what they need for that team right now.
Absolutely.
You know, the spark may not just be there on both sides.
Yeah.
It's a bit like at the beginning when you said first. I said
First
first date. You said first date. It's a bit like first date. Is the spark there?
I love
or
that
not?
you then like synced that back to the beginning. That was so smooth.
Thank you.
Hopefully we're getting better at this, not worse.
And thank you so much for listening. We hope that you found it, as we said before, really like familiar, reassuring, or inspiring. And
Yeah.
Next week?
Tune in next week where we'll be talking about working our way up that buying ladder. What a journey that's been for both of us.
rung by rung by rung.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening, guys. See you next week.